Hi, my name is Paul. I am Noah's cousin, and I am from southern Minnesota. Right now I live in Tokyo, Japan, and I've been here for about 3.5 years. I first became interested in Japan when I was in middle school because I wanted to be a video game designer. And to pursue that, in high school I decided to be a foreign exchange student, and I went through Rotary Youth Exchange to Japan, and ended up staying in Osaka for a year, which is Japan's second largest city. It was a great experience. I had 2 host families, I learned a ton about Japanese culture, and I made a lot of new friends. So if you get a chance to go on a foreign exchange trip, I highly recommend it because you will learn a lot. Otherwise, now I have just finished college here because I switched to Temple University's Tokyo campus in basically just because I wanted to come back to Japan. And I missed being here, I missed the people, I missed the culture, and I miss the food as well. So my daily life basically consists of going to school before I finished it, and then going to work. And I've been working part-time since I got here as an English instructor, which most foreigners, probably most foreigners do that live here, work in the English language teaching field. So I teach kids aged 2 and older. I think my oldest student is about 14 years old, and I work with them to improve their English, and I teach classes of up to 15 students. It's a very fun job. It's a little bit difficult controlling the kids and keeping chaos to a minimum and trying to really teach them how to become better English speakers. But it's definitely rewarding to see them improve and progress, and I've really enjoyed being an English teacher here. It's a great part-time job while going through college.
Hello, my name is Yoshihiro. I am 5 years old. I live in Tokyo, Japan. My favorite foods are raw tuna and miso soup. On our train here.
So otherwise, some of my favorite foods here are Japanese curry as well as okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki is basically, I've heard it described as a cabbage pancake because it's basically sliced cabbage mixed in flour and water and egg, and then just kind of cooked with a special sauce and some mayonnaise on top. Very, very delicious. If you get a chance to try it, I hope you do. I also, of course, love sushi and some other Japanese foods such as takoyaki, which is fried octopus balls. It's basically balls of batter with octopus chunks in them. It tastes a lot better than it sounds. Anyway, I do prefer Osaka still over Tokyo, just because Tokyo is very, very busy. People are usually rushing around, and there isn't a lot of patience here, I feel like, at least, compared to Osaka, which is much more laid back, and a little bit more rural, at least where I lived. And I do appreciate a little bit more rural areas since I'm from Minnesota and I enjoy nature a lot. So Tokyo sometimes becomes too much of a concrete jungle for me, but I do still like living here. Otherwise, I would like to go over some questions you guys had for me. So unfortunately, I have to apologize because I don't know much about economics, China, or opium. So the questions that were about those things I can only give limited answers to. And for the opium stuff, I actually found a very interesting article regarding Japan's take on that, and I'll link it to in the description of this video. And it's by an MIT professor. Very, very good read if you have time. So what are Japanese diets like? Japanese diets have a lot of rice in them. So most people will eat a bowl of rice with breakfast and dinner, and they also have a special miso soup, which is made with miso. So I would say that there's also a lot of fish in there, but in recent times it's become a lot more similar to American diets in that there's a lot of red meat and pork added in. So it's not just fish and rice anymore like it was historically. There are all sorts of foods available here. The government is a democracy, and transportation in Tokyo and most of Japan is based on public transportation, which includes buses and trains as well as subways, and people can use them to get around the city very, very quickly and conveniently. It's not that expensive either, so it's a good choice. Cars are used a lot as well, especially in more rural areas of Japan outside big cities. Women in Japan, I would say, are a little bit restricted, I think. Women in Japan often have to be submissive to men, and definitely in company culture, they will often go out of their way to appease male co-workers. So I think that definitely there is room for improvement in the way women are treated here. But usually it's a pretty equal society, and the laws here, the culture is a little bit unfair to women, but the laws, I believe, are pretty fair to both genders. Typical clothing in Tokyo is a business suit. So many people work in offices here. Basically, I would say 60% of the people you see are wearing suits. There are some more outlandish fashions in some areas of Tokyo. So you'll see some very interesting dresses and outfits, especially near Harajuku, Shibuya. But majority of people are office workers, and there's a lot of suits. It's like a sea of black when you're using public transportation, especially in the morning. Electronics nowadays are not much more advanced than American electronics. Actually, Korea has better phones and other things compared to America, but Japan really doesn't have the benefit of that because their market is so global that everything they create is shipped out to America pretty quickly. So I unfortunately don't get any cool stuff to use before America. There's no X-ray goggles, there's no teleporter, not yet at least, so I wish, but it's pretty much the same as America. Japan is influenced a lot by American and European cultures. They often take fashion and words from different languages and countries and bring them over here. So a lot of times you'll hear Japanese words that sound very, very similar to American words, such as lucky, raki. It sounds very similar, and they basically just turn it into a Japanese word. Schools are very test-based here, so you will take a test to get into the middle school you want to get into, even though it's a public school, and you'll take a test to get into the high school you want to get into, which is also a public school, and then finally you work towards getting into a college that you want to get into. And between there you have tests, of course, in school. So I didn't see as much homework, I think, as American schools had, but there's definitely more studying going on, and that's just a past test that students need to take for their education. Some stereotypes that Japan has about America maybe is the amount of fast food that we eat. They also, I think, probably consider us to be quite loud people. Japanese tend to be more quiet and reserved and won't necessarily speak their mind. They usually agree with people even if they actually disagree, just for the sake of having no conflict. I pay, the apartment that I live in is about $1,600 per month, and I have a roommate, so we split that. It's about $800 each, and that is definitely priced for me, but probably comparable to cities like Chicago and New York. Japan's crime rate is pretty low, I think. There are no guns in this country. Here, I mean, there's guns, but not, they are not prevalent, and in general, it's definitely a safe atmosphere. So I can walk, you know, down the road to a 24-hour store at maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. I don't do it often, but you know, I don't feel unsafe going out at night or really anywhere in Tokyo. There are a few shadier areas, but otherwise it's not really bad problem. There are a lot of English speakers, I would say, not just foreigners, but there are a lot of Japanese who study English here, so you don't necessarily have to speak Japanese to live in Japan, and I don't necessarily speak a lot of Japanese in my daily life because I'm an English teacher. My roommate speaks English and went to college in the US, and yeah, so you don't really need to speak a lot of Japanese. It is my minor in college, and I probably should use it more just to practice, but you don't necessarily have to. And then finally, it is summer right now, very, very hot. Today was awful, I felt, as a Minnesotan. So I don't particularly enjoy in Japan in the summers. I would much rather go back to Minnesota if I didn't have a job here. I would go someplace colder because it feels a little bit too hot for me. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope if you do get a chance to go to Asia, you go, because whether you go to Japan or China or Korea, they're all great countries here, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. Meet some new friends, try some new foods. There's a lot to enjoy here. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will try to answer them. So, thanks. Bye. Goodbye.